So I'm going to do you another reading, and actually this is another one from the north of England. The north of England is a lovely, rich tradition of folk poetry. So we're going to do a poem, folk poem from Lancashire, and later on we'll do a song from Yorkshire. But this is called The Hub of Eternity, and it's the nativity from the point of view of the shepherds, which is not a point of view you get very often, you know. The 99%, you know. It's always the Magi guys and stuff like that. Anyway, it's written by a man called Geoffrey Turner. It were cold out on the hillside. A frost gleamed on the rocks. 'Twere a night for thermal undies and woolly hand-knit socks. The stars gleamed like crystal catching a candlelight. The moon cast silvery shadows, more like day than like night. There seemed to be such a stillness, not even a snore from the sheep. Then I thought I heard this echo, a tone, faint and distant, but sweet. My mates were all asleep, but I nudged the nearest awake. I said, "Eli, do you hear that singing?" He said, "Oh, for heaven's sake," and snuggled down in his blanket like a snail going into its shell. Then suddenly both of us heard it, a note like the peal of a bell. It seemed like the heavens were ringing and the stars gleamed extra bright. Every one of us heard this singing and saw an unearthly light. Then I saw this tall, hefty fella standing there on a rock with a face all golden and gleaming and 6 wings. It gave me a shock. We stood there staring and silent, utterly thunderstruck. Then Eli said, "This ain't usual. I have a feeling that something's up." This angel, it weren't none other, said, "You've hit it right and true. Now pin back your ears and listen. God has a message for you. I've got some good glad tidings, news you won't read in the sun. After all these years of waiting, at last the Messiah's come. If you go to the town over yonder, the one where King David was born, you'll see a glorious wonder. Israel's Christ, King and Lord." Now Eli, who'd read his Bible, said, "Messiah, I've heard of yon. They say he'll be called Emmanuel, great David's greater son. They say he'll be high and mighty, a prince of royal birth. They say he'll free captive Israel and then bring peace on earth. So come on then, let's get going. This is no place to stand. I want to meet this Savior. I want to shake his hand." But the angel, he said, "Hold your horses, it's not quite as easy as that. The Christ has indeed come among you, but he's quite a tiny chap. In fact, he's only a baby, about 7 pounds in all. You'll find him in a stable wrapped in rags in a feeding stall." I'll say I was shaken. I couldn't get his gist. The Christ child born in a manger? Someone will cop it for this. But before I could get my oar in, this angel of splendor and awe was joined by dozens of others, a thundering heavenly choir, singing hymns of the glory of heaven and praises to God above, and blessing the people on earth with his kindness, mercy and love. Then in a flash they vanished, with a thunderous crashing, "Amen." And Jim, who was thick, said, "By golly, what was that all about then? Them angels should be more careful. They could have stampeded the sheep. It's all right for them, this singing, but I've got a job to keep." Eli said, "Ignore him. I don't think he's got a soul. We've just had a vision of heaven, and he's bothered about the dole. The greatest moment in history. And we've got a ringside seat. The awesome shattering grandeur when earth and heaven meet. Seraphs and cherubs and angels, music and light divine, shown to a bunch of shepherds. It's enough to blow your mind." But Jim said, "Hang on a minute before you lose your head. By the time this kid comes to something, we could all be dead. It could be half a lifetime before it creates a fuss. I'm going to get my shut-eye. Frankly, there ain't no rush." But Eli, he's all excited and jumping up and down. The Son of God, the highest, is there in yonder town. I would not go see him if you gave me £1,000. Bethlehem town and the stable, why, this is holy ground. So he set off down the hillside, everyone except Jim, as well as Thick, he's stubborn, nothing could make him come. You chase your dreams if you want to, I'll stay here with the sheep. There ain't no vision of angels can't be cured by a good night's sleep. We walked through the still of the darkness in a private worshipping calm, the steam of our breath ascending like a wordless prayer or a psalm. And we walked without hesitation, I remember it to this day, straight to the inn with its stable and the baby snug in the hay. He didn't look anything special, unless you had faith to see in this child and his smiling mother the hub of eternity. This world and the stars in motion, wheeling through infinite space. Every prayer, every hope we utter, pivots about this place. You had to have faith to see it, but it always is that way. We walk in a world of shadows, not in heaven's bright day. But now and then it happens. You get a glimpse or a clue of the mighty work God is wreaking and what he wants you to do. And when you get that moment, a little glint of the light, you've got to fix your eyes upon it and follow with all your might. I often think of that baby, and I often think of Jim, who closed his eyes on heaven. And I thank God you're not like him.